Have you ever heard a story so captivating, so mysterious, that it feels like it has to be real? For thousands of years, one legend has captured the imagination of treasure hunters, historians, and dreamers alike. The story of Atlantis, a magnificent island civilization brimming with wealth, advanced technology, and wisdom that vanished beneath the waves in a single catastrophic day and night. But was Atlantis a real place? A historical fact swallowed by the sea? Or is it just one of the greatest stories ever told? Today, we're diving deep, separating fact from fiction, to uncover the truth behind the world's most famous lost city. Our story begins with one man, the ancient Greek philosopher, Plato. Around 360 BC, Plato wrote about Atlantis in two of his dialogues, the Timaeus and Critias. He described it as a powerful and advanced kingdom located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which is what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, placing it somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. According to Plato, Atlantis was a marvel of engineering and social structure. It was made of concentric rings of land and water, connected by massive canals and bridges. The city boasted grand temples sheathed in precious metals, bustling harbors, and a powerful military. The Atlanteans were described as noble and wise, descendants of Poseidon, the god of the sea. But as generations passed, their divine nature weakened. Greed and hubris took over, and they sought to conquer the known world, including Athens. It was this arrogance, Plato tells us, that angered the gods. In a furious act of divine punishment, there occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared in the depths of the sea. That's the story, as Plato told it, a dramatic, cautionary tale. For centuries, most scholars believed that's all it was, an allegory, a fictional story created by Plato to illustrate his ideas about a perfect society versus a corrupt one. He might have been using Atlantis as a literary device to warn against the dangers of imperial ambition and moral decay. Think of it like a political fable. By inventing a powerful enemy that his beloved Athens heroically defeated, he was celebrating Athenian virtue while criticizing the corrupting influence of power. This interpretation makes a lot of sense. After all, besides Plato's writings, there is absolutely no other ancient text from Greece, Egypt, or anywhere else that mentions a place called Atlantis. For a civilization supposedly so powerful, its complete absence from all other historical records is a massive red flag for historians. But what if Plato wasn't just making it all up? What if his story was inspired by a real historical event? A memory of a real catastrophe that was passed down through generations. This is where things get really interesting. One of the most compelling theories connects the legend of Atlantis to the volcanic eruption of Vera, now the beautiful Greek island of Santorini. Around 1600 BC, more than 1,000 years before Plato's time, a colossal volcanic eruption blew the island of Thera apart. This was one of the largest volcanic events in human history. The eruption created a massive caldera, triggered enormous tsunamis that would have devastated coastal communities across the Mediterranean, and sent a plume of ash into the atmosphere that could have altered the climate. Now, consider the Minoan civilization, which flourished on the nearby island of Crete and across the Aegean. The Minoans were a sophisticated Bronze Age culture, known for their stunning palaces, vibrant arts, and extensive maritime trade. They were, in many ways, the dominant power in the region at the time. The eruption of Thera would have been a devastating blow to the Minoans. Tsunamis would have wiped out their coastal towns and fleets, and falling ash could have ruined crops, leading to famine and societal collapse. It is easy to see how the memory of a powerful and advanced civilization being suddenly wiped out by a natural disaster could have evolved over a millennium into the dramatic story Plato recorded. The timeline, the geographical location in the Mediterranean, and the nature of the destruction, earthquakes, floods, and a society sinking into the sea all line up remarkably well with the Thera eruption and the subsequent decline of the Minoan civilization. So, was Minoan Crete the real Atlantis? It's a very strong possibility. Over the years, however, The search for Atlantis has expanded far beyond the Mediterranean. People have claimed to find evidence of the lost city everywhere. Some theories place it in the Caribbean, near the Bahamas, citing strange underwater rock formations like the Bimini Road. Others have suggested it was in Antarctica, now buried under miles of ice. There are theories pointing to Spain, Ireland, and even South America. These ideas are often fueled by a desire to believe in a lost golden age, a forgotten chapter of human history where people were more advanced than we give them credit for. Figures like the 19th century writer Ignatius Donnelly popularized the idea that Atlantis was a real, highly advanced mother culture from which all other ancient civilizations like the Egyptians and the Mayans inherited their knowledge. While these ideas are exciting, they usually rely on speculative interpretations and lack the kind of hard archaeological evidence that would be needed to prove them. The Bimini Road, for example, is now widely considered by geologists to be a natural beach rock formation, not a man-made wall. So, where does that leave us? On one hand, we have the academic consensus. Atlantis was most likely a fictional creation by Plato, a moral fable. The complete lack of any direct archaeological proof or mention in other ancient texts is a huge hurdle for any other theory. There are no Atlantean inscriptions, no pottery, no sunken ruins that can be definitively identified. If a continent-sized island with a superpower civilization existed, you'd expect it to leave some trace behind. On the other hand, the theory that Plato's story was inspired by the very real and dramatic collapse of the Minoan civilization following the Terra eruption remains incredibly persuasive. It provides a historical anchor for the legend, grounding the myth in a real-world catastrophe whose echoes could have reached Plato's ears over 1,000 years later. It bridges the gap between pure fiction and historical fact. Ultimately, the enduring power of the Atlantis legend isn't really about finding a physical place. It's about what Atlantis represents to us. It symbolizes the pinnacle of human achievement and the terrifying fragility of our existence. It's a story about a paradise lost, a warning about pride and the forces of nature that are far beyond our control. The idea that a great civilization could be wiped from the face of the earth overnight is both a humbling and a thrilling thought. It taps into a deep-seated curiosity about the unknown parts of our world and our own past. Whether Atlantis lies at the bottom of the ocean waiting to be discovered, or whether it exists only in the pages of Plato's dialogues, its story will continue to inspire us to explore, to question, and to dream. The search for Atlantis is, in a way, a search for ourselves for a deeper understanding of our history and our place in the universe. What do you think? Was Atlantis a real place? A myth inspired by real events? Or just a philosopher's cautionary tale? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure into the unknown. Until next time, keep exploring.